Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show, a mid-season special. Is this 2 weeks now of specials back-to-back? Last week we had the trade deadline, now the mid-season. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Paul joined by Jack Weinberger, Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia, and Zach Bloomquist, the best executive producer. Oh, my God.
Flex on him.
Dude.
He's getting bigger day by day.
Day by day.
Zach, you want a Coke and a smile?
Slowly removing pieces of clothing.
I would have liked a Coke and a smile, but, you know.
I was also a little upset when Jack walked in with an ice-cold Coke.
If I had more than one in the fridge, I would have given it to you guys, but I only had one.
It's an ice-cold Coke. You don't want an ice-cold Coke. You want a room temperature Coke.
You are very picky.
Are you out of your mind?
You're very picky with your
Coke
sodas.
is designed to be drank at room temperature.
By who?
By the Coca-Cola Corporation.
Well, then they sound like freaks to me.
I like a cold Coke.
Yeah, who doesn't like a cold Coke?
Well, Ziggy's very particular with his sodas. We've come to find out over the past 10 minutes.
Room temperature, what?
Look at Ziggy
It's
moving.
correct.
You know, I once drank a sip of Coca-Cola that was sitting in my basement in a bottle for like 25 years.
Yeah, that's,
just out of
Maybe it was the 25 years part, Jack.
that's pretty gross.
Well, I'm just saying.
That's pretty gross.
I'm just saying. It's totally off topic.
Let's get off of this.
It should
Let's
be,
talk about football.
this should be a fun episode. We have some of our biggest surprises from the season so far. We'll catch you up on our awards predictions and our season predictions from earlier, back in August or early September maybe. Hold ourselves accountable. You know, we make predictions here, and we'll see who was right and who was wrong.
Horrible Bucks pick.
Well, that's not the worst. I mean, we had some bad ones, but there were some good ones in there too. And then we'll start today's show, though. I'll present to you guys my mid-season Super Bowl contender tier list, and I'd like to see if you guys agree with it. Zach, we have the graphics. We have this technology now. Look at that. So on the screen, you should be able to see the Super Bowl is on. Those teams are there right now. The Super Bowl is on for the Ravens, the Eagles, the Bengals, and the Chiefs. These are the teams right now, superstar quarterbacks. They're all playing particularly well. The Chiefs offense, we're waiting for them to get going, but I'm not ready to bump them down any tier just yet. They're still right now the number one seed in the AFC. Along with, Lamar Jackson, the Ravens. I actually have these in order, so the furthest left is the best team in my opinion. I think the Ravens at this point in time are they're just cooking, unlike anyone in the league. Ziggy's shaking his head, but we'll get there. Well, do you have a problem with this tier?
We'll talk about it. I got some issues with the ordering, and I think there's a team that's obviously missing.
Okay. The next tier, the big threats tier, the 49ers, the Dolphins, and the Cowboys. These are teams that I feel very well can end up in the Super Bowl or contending for the Super Bowl. Dallas and Miami are a little closer in this category. They just feel like they're not able to take the leap to being a serious contender, even though they have all the talent in the world. San Francisco, just during this skid, I'm waiting to see them get out of it. I'm very confident they'll jump a tier later on this season. But for now, they're in the second. Do you have something you want to say?
No.
Oh, okay, it's three more tiers here. The It Can Be Done tier. The Bills, the Dolphins, and the Jaguars. Jacksonville very quietly is right there in contention for the 1 seed. They have a big game this weekend.
Bills who and Jags?
The Bills, the Lions.
And
the Jags.
The Dolphins.
Can you see this here? Oh, I'm sorry. The Bills, the Lions, and the Jags. The Lions, not too confident in them, but they, again, should win the NFC North. NFC, if they're able to get the 1 or 2 seed, which they're very much in play for right now, could get interesting in Detroit. And Buffalo, they should be on the first tier, but I'm not sure what's going on in Orchard Park right now. As long as you have Josh Allen, you have a chance, but at this point in time, third tier is as high as they'll go. And everywhere from here on out, the next 2 tiers, I don't really think either of these teams, you can't expect them to make any noise, but the would take a lot tier, the Chargers, the Browns, the Saints, and the Seahawks. The Saints and the Seahawks more a product of the NFC. The Chargers and the Browns, a lot of talent on both those teams, just whether or not can they figure it out as the season goes on. And last but not least, Cinderella story, had to throw this in there for fun. CJ Stroud and the Texans, CJ Stroud's playing as well as any quarterback in football right now. The Steelers, I know that they're 5-3 right now. They're winning games. They're winning games. But if Kenny Pickett won the Super Bowl, it would be unbelievable. And then, of course, the Vikings probably should not be on this list, but you know what? I'm a Vikings fan, so
the first thing I'll say is the Steelers should be below the Cinderella story tier.
Below?
Because
that's no.
Yeah, but there's just no way on earth.
You never know. Like, would it stun you if the Steelers got? I mean, it would stun you, but that's why they're a Cinderella story. Like, they don't belong in the same category as.
What's more miraculous than Cinderella story? Because that's what they would be.
Oh, Yeah, another Cinderella story.
Everyone below the it can be done tier is irrelevant, right? We're just sort of throwing them in there to keep because their fan bases are trying to stay excited, and fair enough, right? Paul, you and I know this well. Yes. We're trying to stay engaged, but anyone below the it can be done tier is going to be irrelevant. Maybe they win one playoff game if they get lucky.
Yes. It would take a lot. The Browns and the Chargers, they could make a run to a championship game. I'd still be very surprised. But yes, you're right. The top 3 tiers are really the contenders. I'd actually probably keep it to the top 2 tiers and maybe Buffalo.
I would what I would do is I'd probably slide San Francisco up here to Super Bowl is on.
Mm-hmm.
And I put Detroit in that big threats category.
Okay.
Because San Francisco, with all the talent they have and what they can do, what their ceiling is, they're probably going, when all is said and done, to be the number 2 seed. Probably the only team that I believe can go into Philly and beat them in the postseason. I probably still wouldn't pick them, but I think they could. They're probably the only team that could. And I'd side Detroit up a notch here because I think as of right now, they're more on that level with the Dolphins and the Cowboys and a bit better than the Bills and the Jags.
And Jacksonville.
Like they could be the number 3
seed. They could be the one.
They could be the one.
I mean, they could be the one. Unlikely,
but I like this for the most part. Maybe I might slide the Bengals down to big threats for now. But I think it's pretty accurate for the most part.
Ziggy, you said I was clearly missing someone. Was it San Francisco?
No, it was the Bills. The Bills ranking is egregious.
Okay.
So look, I get why people are fading the Bills a little bit, right? The team's 5-4. They've had some bad games. I've been on here saying they've been up and down. But here's the thing. If you look at the numbers, there are reasons to think things are going to turn around in Buffalo, right? 5-4 is not a great start of the season. But you know what team started 5-4 last year? Cincinnati Bengals. And they were 3 points away from making it to the Super Bowl. So it's not as though the turnaround can't be done. Now you look at what the Bills offense is doing. They're having fewer points per game this year. That's right. But the offense by the advanced numbers is better. They're more consistent. They're gaining more yards. Their EPA per play is higher. Things just need to work out a little bit more in their favor. And over the course of a long season and the playoffs, I think that's going to happen. You got the second best quarterback in the league. You've got a defense that's hurt right now, but if they get a little bit healthier, will be able to do something. And I don't know, as long as Josh Allen is in the backfield, they can absolutely beat anybody. And there are only a few teams in the NFL who I'm confident that's true of. Can the 49ers beat anybody with Brock Purdy in the backfield? I don't know. Can the Dolphins beat anyone with 2 in the backfield? I don't know. Can the Cowboys beat anyone with Dak in the backfield? I don't know. But the Bills clearly can with Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's one of those superhuman quarterbacks, which, they're 3-4 of maybe in all of football. So I understand people griping with the Bills in that 3rd tier right now. It's just the way they've played over the past, 3-4 weeks. It's not very encouraging. I expect them to jump up as the season continues. I'd be very surprised if they're not a big threat or a tier 1 team by December. But as of right now, it's not impressive. So that's why they're there.
I mean, I was going
to say, here's the nice thing for the Bills is look at every team in tier. This is good and bad. But if you look at the tier 1 teams, the Chiefs, the Eagles, I know you've got the Cowboys down there a few tiers below, but the Dolphins, right? They get to play a lot of these top teams. Winning those games will give them a lot of tiebreakers going into the playoffs. They have a chance to move a lot of teams down and take the seeding back. So even though 5-4 is not an ideal start, the fact that they have games against 2 of the 3 top teams in the AFC, and the fact that the Ravens, frankly, are probably just going to lose some games because this is how it goes with the Ravens. Are they really going to win the rest of their divisional games? There's just no way, right? It's the AFC North. We all know how that goes.
Don't they get them all at home, though?
They do, but again,
it's the Browns, the Bengals, yeah.
It's the AFC North. You're not going, that'd be going 6-0 in the AFC North or 5-1 because they lost to the Steelers. My bad. But that's not happening. They still have to play the 49ers. They still have to play the Dolphins and the Jaguars. So as a Bills fan, there's a little cannibalism. You can get right back into that 1 seed, and it's not too late for the playoffs to run through Orchard Park.
I mean, I could see a world for sure right now where I wouldn't be upset with putting Buffalo up to the big threats category. But right this very second, nowhere near Super Bowl's on category because they're not as good as the Ravens or Eagles.
It's all on Josh Allen
right now.
If Josh Allen, we talked about this the other day. When Josh Allen is playing elite football, the Bills might be the best team in the league. And when this team is off, all of a sudden the Giants should beat them with Tyrod Taylor. They're probably the most fluctuating team in the league, but that scale, the range they have is so high and low. It's
I will say, though, if the Bills do end up winning the AFC East, the Dolphins go from big threats to would take a lot.
The Dolphins, we all agreed the Dolphins need to have home games. I told you they had to be Kansas City for me, which an overreaction, but still, I kind of stand by that. All right, let's go on to the awards predictions check-in. So earlier in the year,
That was probably horrendous.
Well, look at this.
Oh, man.
So earlier in the year, before the season started, we shared our predictions for the MVP, both Rookie of the Years, the Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year, and the Coach of the Year. For MVP, I had Mahomes, Ziggy had Mahomes, you had Joe Burrow, and Zach had Tua. As it stands right now, Mahomes is tied for first with Lamar and Jalen Hurts at plus 350, Tua plus 650, and Burrow would be in, fifth at plus 700. So we all have top 5 people at the
I would
moment.
double down now on Joe Burrow. I would double down right now on Joe
You
Burrow.
could have gotten Burrow at plus 8,000 a few weeks ago.
Look, if the Bengals end up with the 1 seed, Joe Burrow is probably winning MVP. So keep that in mind.
Ziggy,
I would say overall, we're all doing a pretty good job with our MVP. Not that it was particularly hard, but pretty good so far.
We have to have been pretty dumb not to be doing okay at this point.
Here we go. Offensive rookie. Well, they'll just wait. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I had Bijan, which is starting to look ridiculous. Jack Zay Flowers, your guy out in Baltimore. Ziggy had Bryce Young, and Zach with Anthony Richardson. Which, to give Zach credit, Richardson probably would be in competition.
If he was healthy, yes.
He would not be in competition.
Well, at the current moment, it's CJ Stroud minus 500, Puka plus 650, Jahmyr Gibbs plus 1,400, and Bijan plus 1,600. Crazy that none of us had CJ Stroud. Big miss for the show.
I wasn't. I was the most high on him out of any quarterback in this class, but not particularly high. The same reason I wasn't super high on Jordan Love. It's just a situation.
Well, you love Zay Flowers too.
Yeah, I thought Zig would bring an immediate impact at Baltimore, which he is, but less so than I thought.
It was great because Ziggy, you led in your prediction with, and I think you were right. You said it has to be a quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven award. If one of these guys can make their team just average, they'll be winning. And then you went with Bryce Young. So your thinking was right, but you just picked the wrong guy.
I would say at this point, like, CJ Stroud's got Offensive Rookie of the Year locked up. He should start thinking about making an MVP case. That is how, because this is a weird year, right? None of the top guys, there's a reason it's a 3-way tie. None of them have really stood out that much. There's only one quarterback where I feel like they are single-handedly putting the team on their back and driving them to victory against the odds. That's CJ Stroud.
I would put Lamar in there too.
I mean, if you look at MVP by definition, like most valuable player, and the Texans can go 9-8 and win the South, you can make a case.
I'm just saying, you can get CJ Stroud right now 125 to 1. I am sprinkling a little on that.
Okay.
They'd have to give it to him though based on the pure definition.
They don't have to do anything.
Here was our Defensive Rookie of the Year. I had Will Anderson with the Texans. Jack and Ziggy both had Christian Gonzalez, so you guys could play the injury card there. You got that. And Zach actually picked one of the favorites right now, Devin Witherspoon with the Seahawks.
I knew.
I'm pretty sure that Zach's philosophy on that one was he said, I only know Witherspoon. So let's go with Witherspoon.
Zach,
Nonetheless.
are you the big spoon or the little spoon?
Always the big spoon.
Nice.
Jalen Carter right now minus 200, Witherspoon at plus 200. He's right there. The numbers we said a couple weeks ago, very similar to Sauce Gardner from last season. So good pick for Zach. Offensive player. Go ahead, Ziggy.
I was just going to say, Jalen Carter is the favorite by a fair bit at this point. I thought that with the way the Eagles defensive line was playing, that he wouldn't have a good opportunity to stand out. I was just wrong. He has looked so good and been a star on that defensive line against proven all-pro NFL veterans.
Oh, some people think he's been the best player on the D-line, which when you think about the way Hassan Reddick's playing this year, and Josh Sweat has been phenomenal too. Jalen Carter, we said the moment he was drafted, it was unbelievable that he fell that far. And the Eagles just had this crazy ideology of taking the best player, and it works out. So I don't know why, I don't know why other teams aren't thinking that.
Hey, take that Georgia defender.
Yeah.
Take that Georgia defender.
It's easy. Make it work. Can you imagine the Lions? I know they love Gibbs, but they could have used.
They don't love Gibbs.
He's getting better. He's getting better.
His last game was very good.
The Bears had their shot at Carter. Like so many people.
I still just find it weird that both teams that pick running back so high just like didn't care to play him.
Yeah. It's
Dumb pick.
Well,
That's for another
Gibbs
time.
is starting to get his touches.
Yeah, that's for another time.
He's going to lose him this week when Demo's back.
He's been awesome. The offensive player of the year, I went with Justin Jefferson. So,
Injury card.
That was
Injury
the
card.
craziest pick I've
That's a
ever
square
heard.
pick.
What, Justin Jefferson?
Oh, wait, sorry. I thought you said Justin Fields. Wow.
No. Justin
It's a
Jefferson.
square pick, but he got hurt.
Yeah, it was. Jack had Jamar Chase, Ziggy, Patrick Mahomes, and Zach with the current leader, Tyreek Hill. So right now you have Tyreek Hill plus 125, tied with McCaffrey at plus 125, then A.J. Brown and Jamar Chase, fourth.
I mean, my thinking was I'll give if Joe Burrow's the MVP, Chase also pops off. So I went with both those Bengals.
They
there.
are right now.
We just have to put it out there. Me and Jack are not Jamar Chase fans here. I don't know why he picked that guy.
He clearly is.
I mean, Jamar Chase is fourth in the odds. It's not like he has no
overrated to
chance.
us
Jack
last
says
year.
how much he doesn't like Joe
Yeah.
Burrow, Jamar Chase. Yet he picks
No.
Joe Burrow in the third or fourth round of our fantasy draft. He predicts him to win MVP. Jamar Chase is the offensive player of the year.
No,
You might have a soft spot for the Cincinnati Bengals.
you know what it is? I'm just a very soft puppet when it comes to these kinds of things. Like I don't
soft puppet.
I don't like these guys, but I just play it safe because I'm like, oh, they probably will be pretty
What the
good.
hell
So
is
I'll
a
just
soft?
No, this is why the fans can trust us, right? No matter how we feel,
I don't
we
know. I just kind of
recognize
said
greatness.
that term. I have no idea what that
You're right,
means.
Ziggy. I think we're fairly objective for the
What's a
moment.
hard puppet?
I don't even know.
Dude.
Uh,
I don't know what a soft puppet is.
get this crap out
Okay.
of here.
Defensive
I
player
play
of the year.
I'm saying I play it safe.
Defensive player of the year. I went with Micah Parsons, who is currently leading
Oh,
on
I had
FanDuel
Watt,
as the
right?
favorite.
I could
Jack
tell
had
you
Jack had TJ Watt, Ziggy with a head turner, Quinnen Williams, and Zach with Nick Bosa, who is starting to come on a little bit more. That San Francisco D-line's been struggling. Right now, Parsons leads the way on FanDuel, followed by Myles Garrett, TJ Watt third, Aiden Hutchinson, and Max Crosby. Daniil Hunter actually is plus 5,000 right now, but he's leading the league in sacks. I think he's a quiet contender as well.
TJ Watt should win MVP of the league.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
We
like,
talked about
if-
the numbers.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not there. This is an 0-17 football team. It's crazy what he does. So, like, DPOY alone, he should be the MVP.
I was surprised to see Micah Parsons as the favorite right now. I know he's phenomenal. I always say he's the second best player in football,
I
but
didn't think he's been having a great year.
I thought he was. Yeah, I
Maybe
thought he's
just
been
'cause-
good.
Maybe it's because he's actually having like a really good year, but it's average for him. So it's like
Well, it's like that LeBron James effect.
Who do you think
you
he
know?
should be? It should be, what's his name? Like Myles Garrett?
I thought Garrett would be the favorite, and he's number 2 right now. Very close, but that's what I expected to see.
I'll say I got to defend the Quinnen Williams pick a little bit because he just called me out. He doesn't have the sack numbers this year, and it's becoming a narrative in New York, but he has had an incredibly good season. He's been one of the 2 or 3 best interior D linemen. So even though it didn't work out, and he's obviously not winning the award, I was
Still,
right
yes.
that he's having a great season. It's just, I should have gone with Micah Parsons, who I think is the best player in the NFL.
that's a square pick. That's why you didn't do it, Ziggy. You didn't want to be a
Yeah,
square.
you're a sharp, Ziggy.
Yeah, I mean,
You're a sharp.
I went as square as anyone. I had Mahomes, Bijan, Will Anderson, Jefferson, and Parsons.
And it didn't really work out for
No,
him.
it didn't.
That's typical.
It's typical.
It's
Well,
typical.
hold on. The coach of the year now.
Nobody cares about that award.
Coach of the year. Well, you should.
Oh, I already know who my coach of the year was, and I know he better be at the top of the list.
Jack also, he should not be trashing this award because he's doing very well. Coach of the year, I had Mike Vrabel when I had the
Oh, wow.
Titans. Yeah, huge L. With my Titans pick is not aging well at all. Jack with the clubhouse leader, Dan Campbell, and the Detroit Lions. But, apparently this means nothing. So
No, it does. He's my man.
Ziggy had Sean Payton, which was talk about blowing up in your face.
No, the funniest thing is Ziggy. I remember Ziggy had Sean Payton winning the award with the Broncos missing the
Oh, yeah, no, I
postseason.
remember. Yes.
That was hilarious.
I rewatched those show and I was like, Ziggy, you have
You got
Denver missing the playoffs.
but here's the thing, right? Like if Denver were making the playoffs, he would have won the award. So I think he was still one of the more likely candidates because Coach of the Year is one of those awards where you just have no idea who's going to win it at the start of the year. It's almost always someone random.
Yeah, but I can promise you, if the Broncos don't make the playoffs, he will not win the award.
I agree. I thought there was a good chance the
Ziggy,
Broncos. Yeah,
if they,
you guys.
if they turn up now and just don't lose again the rest of the year, he's the coach of the year.
Yeah. So
He's-
we all still have a shot. We all still have a shot. It's all in play. We're only at the midway point. And Zach with a great pick here. We actually all made fun of him when he said this.
Mike McDaniel.
He had D'Amico Ryans as his coach of the year. And he said, you know what? The Texans are going to go to the playoffs. Now, he didn't do it in his predictions 5 minutes earlier on that show, but he wound up changing his mind, said the Texans will be in the playoffs. And that is looking like maybe the call of the year on our show.
I mean, I'm totally sold if they beat Cincinnati this week. I'm sold on that.
I mean, maybe I should be in that third chair over there that's just sitting doing nothing.
Well,
Come on.
I mean, yeah, you do Tua, Anthony Richardson, Witherspoon, Tyreek Hill, Nick Bosa, D'Amico Ryans, probably the best out of all of us here. Okay, the standings. Here's what we had, just so you can enjoy what our playoff predictions were. The current playoff standings in the AFC: Chiefs, Ravens, Jaguars, Dolphins. Then your wild card teams are the Steelers, the Browns, and the Bengals. Wow, the entire AFC North is in right now.
It's a great division.
By the way, I also predicted 10-plus wins for everyone in the AFC North, which is on track to hit.
I think I also had the Bengals as the 7th seed.
Oh, we'll find out. We'll find out. So that's your AFC. In my predictions were for that conference, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, and the Titans as the 4 seed. My wild cards were the Ravens, the Dolphins, and the Chargers. I think that's okay. Respectable.
Yeah, respectable.
Yeah. Outside of Tennessee. Jack was Chiefs 1 seed, Steelers 2 seed, Bills 3, Jaguars 4, the Dolphins as the first wild card, then the Bengals and the Ravens. Again, pretty respectable. I mean, Pittsburgh, you're a fan.
I got all 4 AFC North teams in there, didn't I? No, not the Browns.
Ziggy, Chiefs 1 seed, Bills 2, Browns 3, Jaguars 4, Bengals 5, Chargers 6, and the Patriots were Ziggy 7 seed.
Hey, it's only the midway point.
Hey, it's only midway.
It's only a midway point.
And for Zach, he had the Dolphins as the 1, the Chiefs as the 2, Jaguars as the 3, Browns as the 4, Bills, Steelers, and Bengals. So overall, I would say, every team is still in the running there.
Yeah, those are all aren't bad at all. Pretty solid.
The NFC, the current standings are Eagles 1, Lions 2, San Francisco 3, and the Saints 4. Those are your division leaders. The Seahawks, Cowboys, and Vikings make up the wild card teams. I led the way with the 49ers as the 1, the Vikings as the 2. Of course, the Kirk Cousins injury puts things into perspective a little bit. The Eagles as the 3 and the Saints as the 4, with the Cowboys, Lions, and Seahawks as your wild card teams. So I'm pretty sure that's everyone right there who's currently in the field. Yeah, that's all of them right now. Jack had the Eagles as the 1. Check. The Lions as the 2. Check. The Seahawks as the 3, which would have been right up until last weekend. Yeah, we'll give it to you for now. The Bucks is the 4, still in contention, but that's fading. Cowboys 5, Vikings 6, and the 49ers 7. So not bad. I'm pretty impressive with the Detroit in the 2 slot.
And the Niners as a 7 slot.
Ziggy now. You had the Cowboys as the 1 seed, the 49ers as the 2, Detroit in the 3, and the Saints in the 4. Okay. The Cowboys Eagles was.
If the Cowboys had beaten the Eagles last week, that would have won.
You were right there.
Yeah, you're right there.
You had the Eagles as your first wild card, then the Vikings, and then the Packers. So you were really swinging for the fences with those 7 seeds.
Packers and Pats. I mean, the 7 seeds have picked a swing for the fences for, though.
You never know who. It's always some random ass team.
Yeah, anybody.
The 7 seed.
Speaking of swinging for the fences with the 7 seed, Zach had the Eagles, then the 49ers, the Vikings, the Saints, Cowboys, Lions, and bringing up the rear,
the Cardinals.
The Arizona Cardinals.
The Cardinals.
Josh Dobbs and the Cardinals. Well, you know what?
Look, it was going good at the beginning of the season.
They actually looked okay to start the year.
Yeah.
Look, they were your team.
Just putting out there, Kyler's coming back this week.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 3's coming out this week. It's a loss.
If they win out, what are those at 9 and 8? I could sneak into a 7 seed.
Right now, the Vikings at 5 and 4.
I have to say, there's only 2 games that the Cardinals can't win left on the schedule.
That's right, Ziggy. Tell him.
Now, how many are there left that they will win? Maybe 1. But they could win them all.
Yeah, they just won't win this weekend because new Call of Duty's out. And there's some games to be played.
I'll be on that game. I'll be playing some COD. Ziggy, you playing the new COD this week?
It's a $5 DLC. They're selling us a new game. Don't
Ziggy,
buy the new COD. Whatever.
Want to sip a Coke? Sip a Coke? Want to sip a Coke?
He waits for it to be a little warm.
Is that Coke?
No, it's carbonated water.
With like some dye in it? It looks brown.
No, that's the bottom.
No, that's the bottom of it. Yeah. I got fooled at first as well. All right, we'll wrap up this show just with a couple of our takeaways from the early portion of the season. I'll start, and then I know Ziggy had a good one that he brought to light the other day. I was thinking on my drive home from the gym yesterday, because, this entire show works out. On my drive home.
Except for this guy. I won't say anything.
I didn't go today. On the drive home, I was thinking about the Dolphins and the Cowboys and just how the two of them are sort of feeling the same way in each conference, where these are two really loaded teams, all the talent in the world. But they just can't seem to beat the teams like the Eagles and the Chiefs, the top dogs in the league. And I was trying to figure out why, what is going on in these games. And I do think it comes down to situational plays and big moments, like third downs. You always see, I remember in the Dolphins game, Jalen Hurts, the big fourth down conversion for a touchdown. Think about Dak stepping out of bounds against Philly on the 2-point conversion. They're an inch short on the Ferguson touchdown, taking the big sack. You can go on and on. The Tyreek Hill fumble against the Chiefs. There's always some big play that the top tier team makes in those moments that separates them from the rest of the pack. And the Dolphins and Cowboys are right there, but in the big games, for some reason, it doesn't seem to go their way. So I'm trying to, I'm not a coach. I can't go in and analyze exactly what's going wrong in these moments, but I tried to see, is this recurring over and over again? And I took a look at Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy. Since they've teamed up in 2020, they were favored in 35 games. And I think this is great because, Jack, you brought up Ian Book with Notre Dame one time, the old Notre Dame quarterback, and you said he won all the games he was supposed to win. And he lost. He's the best. And he lost all the games he was supposed to lose.
Yeah.
The Cowboys in 35 games favored with Dak and Mike McCarthy are 26-9. Generally, they win those games, and that's a lot of games to be favored in. You have to give them credit there.
Yeah, and a lot of that favoriting is probably by like 3 points or something too. So winning's not nothing.
Yeah, no, winning those games means something. Like, they're able to take care of the teams they're supposed to beat most of the time. Mm-hmm. Since 2020, in 9 games, they were underdogs, a 1-8 record. Their only win against the Chargers at the start of the 2021 season. So every time the Cowboys are in those big games, usually when the Cowboys are an underdog, it's a big game. They're coming up a little bit short. Sometimes very short, like San Francisco this year. And it's just one of those situations where, when does it happen? I don't think it's a lack of talent with these teams. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I'm curious to know, I don't know if you have that or not, how many of those 9 games, they're 1-8 as dogs, right? How many of those 9 games were played on the road versus in Dallas? I
don't have that. I'll try and find
it. In the sake of Miami, it is so hard to go on the road and beat the best. And they haven't had 1 home game.
We actually have 0 basically home games. I saw a thing, the Chiefs, every hard team they play this year, all the top
it's always at home.
Well, it's always an Arrowhead. Yeah, they host the Eagles.
Literally, you could look at their schedule. Every hard game, the Eagles, us, anybody else you could think of that's hard, they play an Arrowhead.
But that one game, the biggest game, or the most recent biggest game in Miami, when they hosted Buffalo, they won. Mm-hmm. They went to Cincy and lost. San Francisco, they lost. In Germany, they lost.
Well, Dallas this year, too, if you want to be fair to the Cowboys, go on the road to San Francisco, go on the road to Philly.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many of these games have actually been in their home stadium.
Miami's actually been a little bit better in the 24 games. So 2020 happened to also be Tua's first year, as well as the first year McCarthy and Dak were paired up. In 24 favored games, 19-5. So we talk about that this year, especially. They're 5-0 against teams they're favored and just blowing them out. Since 2020, underdogs in 20 games, 10-10. This year, though, 1-3, and we've seen, their one win was also against the Chargers. So, Ziggy, let me ask you before we move on to your topic. Who do you think is closer to winning the big game between the Dolphins and the Cowboys?
So, for me, I think it's the Cowboys, and here's why. When I look at the Cowboys in general, it seems to me like they really are very, very close, and then usually something fluky doesn't go their way. But this is a team that's basically playing well enough to win, and I think eventually they're going to break through that. With the Dolphins, more often than not, it's not a close loss. Sometimes it is, right? So it was a close loss in Buffalo last year. It was a close loss to the Chiefs this week, though I don't think it was as close as the score makes it look. But Dallas usually doesn't go and lay eggs like Miami did against the Bills just a few weeks ago. So I think the Cowboys are closer just because they're better on defense. They're pretty good on offense. And I think if things just get a little bit luckier for them, they'll break through.
Yep. So you think it's a little more of having that break go their way, while Miami has a little more work to do.
Though either of these teams, I mean, I think both these teams are being underrated right now because they come up short in big games.
Yeah.
But you have to keep in mind, right? Like, you don't have better than a 50% chance of winning these anyway. Like, no one in the NFL really does. So I don't hold it against them all that much.
And what was your takeaway midseason that you shared with us the other day, Ziggy?
So I went back. This is something I was thinking about at the beginning of the season, right? Is the past 7 seasons, there's been a quarterback who's taken a huge leap. So, you go back to 2017, that was the year when McVay came to the Rams and Goff became great. 2018 was the Mahomes breakout year. 2019, Lamar Jackson MVP. 2020 was that incredible Josh Allen year. 2021, Joe Burrow. And then last year, I think you can pick either Trevor Lawrence or Jalen Hurts, either way you want to go, but they both took big steps forward. So I made a list at the start of the season of who I thought had potential to sort of break out, who to watch. Here was on the list: Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, Jordan Love. And if you go back to the start of the season, everyone had a different take about which of those guys was going to break out, but the assumption was one of them surely would, right?
Yes.
But weirdly enough this year, Sam Howell has looked okay despite being the NFL leader in sacks. But otherwise, none of those guys have really looked any good. So we haven't seen that quarterback breakout where a person who's been in the league for at least a year, sort of has gotten some time under their belt, really takes that big step forward and impresses. On the other hand, I do think a quarterback has sort of unexpectedly played incredibly well and will continue to play at a high level. So I think, weirdly enough, CJ Stroud is sort of filling that role. So that's been a huge surprise for me this season, that CJ Stroud has looked like a borderline top 10 quarterback, more or less since week 3 of his pro career. I'm excited to see where the kid goes.
I mean, CJ Stroud having more touchdown passes than Kenny Pickett is absurd.
Career.
Yeah, career. That is, that's totally absurd.
I think you're right, Ziggy, that Stroud is the breakout guy, and usually you don't see that in rookie seasons. I went back and watched him play the entire game against the Buccaneers this weekend, and it's insane. Go watch. If you're a Texans fan, go watch. Chase Daniels the former quarterback, does a really good breakdown of it, and you just see that CJ Stroud, he sees everything on the field. His release is unbelievably quick. The ball goes exactly where he wants. It's just, to compete in the AFC, you need to have the quarterback. That's just part of the way that conference is right now. And the Texans fans, you have to be just super pumped up. The NFC's defense-oriented, a little bit. It's in the trenches. That's where you win. The AFC, you got to be able to throw the football well. I think the Texans right now, we've seen some of the comments. Their fan base is so pumped up, and they should be. He's just been unbelievable this season.
Yeah, I want to talk about another guy that Ziggy brought up there in Justin Fields. We said before the season started, this, to all of us, was kind of his last hurrah, his last chance.
He was the guy most people thought would break out.
Yeah. And in his defense, he's been injured, but he looked like he might have been starting to turn things on before he went down. A bit of a rough start to the year, but the last 2 or 3 games he played, he looked awesome before getting injured.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
During the Viking game, I think he was iffy, but against Washington and Denver for the most part, despite them the Broncos coming back and winning, you were starting to see a better Justin Fields.
Like, he was looking good, yeah.
Just think about, I wrote it down here, that Panthers trade for Bryce Young, and it's early. It's still very early in all these guys' careers. But if things continue to go the way that they are, Carolina fans are sitting here looking at CJ Stroud developing into a superstar, losing that first overall pick potentially, which could be Caleb Williams or Drake May, also giving up DJ Moore, a premier receiver in the NFL, even more picks beyond that. This is a trade to keep an eye on. I don't think it will. I actually think Bryce Young will be an okay starter, but this has potential to be one of the worst trades in the history of football.
I mean, I could have told the Panthers GM before the draft, don't draft this guy. I was saying it.
Well, it wasn't the Panthers GM, but
No.
if you listen to what's coming from the Panthers organization, this is the thing that concerns me, actually. It's not the play. It's the fact that already guys like Frank Reich, who've been in the NFL for a while, are trying to sort of blame David Tepper. They're trying to say, look, you know what kind of quarterback I like, and we took Bryce Young. And who does Frank Reich like, you ask? He likes quarterbacks who are accurate in college, who are big, who are strong, who maybe aren't the most athletic, but are pretty good at like reading the field. Every single person who reported on the Panthers thought that the guy was going to be CJ Stroud until Tepper stepped in and rebalanced the scales. So people might be losing their jobs over this, but like that, the fact that the organization is already panicking a little bit isn't good. And I'll just say the fact that none of those guys have broken out, entering a year where there should be a lot of good quarterbacks in the draft, means this year we set a record in the NFL, right? There have been 10 rookies that have started at quarterback for a team. That's most in any non-strike season. I think it could be even more next year with a lot of these teams, the Patriots, the Packers, maybe the Commanders, maybe the Steelers, maybe the Bears. Could be starting a new quarterback, maybe even the Falcons.
I mean, even the Vikings are honestly in there too. You don't know who it'll be. Kirk Cousins actually, like Kirk and Jared Goff are also guys who sort of are breaking out this. Like Jared Goff at the end of last year, but Kirk Cousins was having the best season of his career, even though he's 35 years old.
And I feel like a quarterback too is such a short leash position for so many teams because it's hard. It's hard not to panic,
and it's getting shorter too.
Like when you don't get results from a quarterback, a team is only really as good as their quarterback is good. Like if they have a bad quarterback, that's a bad situation. And if they're not looking good after a year or two, that's it. It's a short leash.
That's crazy.
That's just the truth.
It is crazy how well this is working out for Houston right now, though. Even giving up the pick for Will Anderson. Think about the year they're having or hoping to have, potentially a playoff run. The pick you would have had this year, you would 100% take Will Anderson. Like wherever they wind up picking in the teens, probably, maybe late teens, you're basically slotting Will Anderson into that pick. Yeah. They have just done things really well. For Zach's D'Amico Ryan's Coach of the Year prediction. So there you have it. The mid-season show. Thank you guys for listening. Remember, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know how your predictions from the start of the year are doing and who you think might go on a Super Bowl run. Could it be the Vikings, the Steelers, the Dolphins? You never know. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Listen to the Week 10 prediction show. See ya.